Hello, very good morning. Welcome to the Mega News 6 News live from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate, Nungwa Aduron. My name is El Samuels. The news is also live on our social media handles on MBN 360. First, the headlines.
Approval rating at 67%. Economic optimism sleeps. Global Infoanalytics. In business, Jackson signs MOUs with 8 firms to boost industrialization and exports. And on the international front, Russia offers to help Africa quantify slavery reparations claims.
My name is El Samuels from the studios of MBN TV. It's now time to bring you the news at 6. The President, John Dramani Mahama, continues to enjoy strong public support, maintaining 67% approval rating according to a new poll by Global Infoanalytics.
The survey released on March 25, 2026 showed that only 26% of voters disapprove of his performance, though it was a slight increase from 24% recorded in December 2025, while approval remains unchanged. Support for President Mahama, according to the survey, spans all regions, including traditional opposition strongholds. In the Ashanti region, which is the stronghold of the opposition New Patriotic Party, the poll showed that 56% of voters approve of his performance, while approval stands at 64% in the Eastern region and 65% in the Northeast region. The poll also indicates that a majority of party affiliates back the president's performance, except for supporters of the NPP. The direction of the country, 65% of respondents in the survey noted that Ghana is headed in the right direction, though there was a marginal drop from 66% in the previous quarter. Meanwhile, 28% believe the country is on the wrong path, up from 24%, while those with no opinion declined from 10% to 7%. Living standards appear to have improved for many Ghanaians, with 58% of voters saying their conditions are better than a year ago, compared to 16% who report a decline. However, optimism about the future has dipped slightly. The poll found that 68% of voters expect their standard of living to improve over the next 12 months, down from 70% in the previous quarter, suggesting growing unease over potential inflationary pressures linked to the Middle East conflict.
The chairperson of African Union's Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahatma, has welcomed the adoption of United Nations resolution declaring trafficking of enslaved Africans and raised charter radicalism. A Ghanaian employee of the UK National Service has been ordered to pay a $1,425 in compensation for an employment tribunal found that he harassed a colleague by repeatedly referring to her as auntie.
The case, reported by The Independent on Wednesday, March 25, involved Hilda Esteves, 61, a healthcare assistant with the West London NHS Trust. She told the tribunal that she considered the term offensive and had asked her colleague Charles Opon to stop using it. Mr. Opon, who worked at St. Bernard's Hospital, argued in his defense that auntie is commonly used in Ghanaian culture as a respectful way to address older women. However, the tribunal concluded that his conduct created an offensive working environment. Employment Judge George Elliott stated, "We find that Charles Opon's purpose was probably an offensive attempt at humor. It was reasonable for Ms. Esteves to perceive it as creating an offensive environment." The ruling also referenced additional remarks made by Mr. Opon, including a comment that Ms. Esteves would be a good match for another older staff member, which the tribunal said contributed to the harassment claim. Although Mr. Opon admitted to using the term once, he denied doing so repeatedly. The tribunal rejected his defense, describing his evidence as evasive and vague. While Ms. Esteves' other claims covering discrimination, victimization, and unlawful deduction of wages were dismissed, the tribunal upheld a complaint of harassment on the grounds of age and sex. Judge Elliott acknowledged that auntie is regarded as a term of respect in Ghanaian culture, but stressed that continuing to use it against Miss Steve's wishes made it inappropriate and offensive in the workplace.
Now back to the story where the chairman of African Union's Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, has welcomed the adoption of the United Nations as a resolution declaring the trafficking of enslaved Africans and radicalized chattel enslavement as a grievous crime against humanity.
The resolution, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly and led by Ghana on Wednesday, March 25, 2026, marks what the Commission described as a significant milestone in the global recognition of the historical injustice of slavery and the lasting consequences. The chairperson commended President John Dramani Mahama for his leadership on the initiative, noting that it reflects Africa's long-standing call for full acknowledgement of the transatlantic slave trade. This historic decision marks an important step towards truth, justice, and healing, and reinforces the urgent need to address the enduring legacy of slavery. His Excellency Mahama'S said. The Commission reiterated the African Union's position that the historical and contemporary impacts of slavery must be fully recognized, including the pursuit of reparative justice in line with Agenda 2063 and relevant Assembly decisions. It added that the African Union would continue to work with the United Nations, member states, and international partners to advance historical justice and ensure that such crimes are neither forgotten nor repeated.
Now, on the business, the Ghana Export and Import has signed a memorandum of understanding with 8 Ghanaian organizations that strengthening industrialization, promoting value addition, and expanding the country's export base.
The agreements were signed on the sidelines of JEXIM's 10th Anniversary International Conference in Accra on Thursday, March 26, as part of efforts to deepen support for key sectors of the economy. Among the beneficiaries is North Shore Apparel Ghana Limited, with a partnership focused on boosting local garment manufacturing, creating sustainable jobs, and enhancing Ghana's export potential in the apparel industry. JEXIM also partnered TKS Packaging and Printing Limited to expand local manufacturing capacity in packaging and printing, reduce reliance on imports, and strengthen the country's industrial base. In the agribusiness sector, the bank signed agreements with Nadcansco Company Limited and Fresh Circle Foods Exports Company Limited to promote value addition, support farmers, and expand non-traditional exports through agro-processing and improved market access. The bank is further supporting SPEG with financing to acquire heavy-duty machinery for pineapple processing, a move expected to scale up production, create jobs, and enhance export competitiveness. Similarly, JEXIM's collaboration with Bunta Farms Limited is aimed at boosting local poultry production, reducing import dependence, and strengthening food security through increased domestic capacity. On the industrial front, JEXIM signed an MOU with Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms Limited to support the development of an industrial zone, with the company providing feasibility studies and technical expertise for the project. Additionally, the bank is working with the Biotechnology and Nuclear Agriculture Research Institute to upgrade its tissue culture laboratory into a center of excellence to support large-scale production of planting materials for the pineapple industry. JEXIM stated that the partnerships reflect a broader strategy to catalyze investment, strengthen local industries, and position Ghana as a competitive player in regional and global trade.
Now, away from the business, that we move straight to the international front, where Russia has expressed readiness to support African countries, calculating the total amount of reparations that Western nations could pay for crimes committed during the colonial era.
The position was outlined on Wednesday, March 25, 2026, by Irina Abramova, director of the Institute for African Studies of the Russian Academy of Sciences, during a press conference on the theme, The Responsibility of Western Metropolises for the Consequences of Colonization, History and Modernity, according to the African Initiative Media Agency. Her remarks come in the wake of growing global momentum for reparatory justice following the backing of 123 nations for a motion at the United Nations to recognize the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime ever committed against humanity. The motion was tabled at the UN General Assembly by John Dramani Mahama. Madam Abramova explained that Russia intends to collaborate with African experts to build a strong, evidence-based case for reparations using modern analytical tools. We aim to unite the efforts of Russian scholars, mathematicians, programmers, historians, and economists with African researchers in order to jointly substantiate the scale of these reparations and move forward with legal claims on various international platforms, she said. She stressed that African countries must accurately quantify the damage caused by colonialism to strengthen their claims for compensation, noting that this would involve modern scientific methods alongside extensive colonial-era archives preserved across the continent. Abramova further clarified that while Russia is offering support, it is not the originator of the reparations agenda, maintaining that African challenges should primarily be addressed by Africans themselves. She also highlighted the role of John Dramani Mahama, who currently chairs the African Union's Reparations Committee, describing him as both a political leader and a scholar advancing the discourse. In addition to being an outstanding political figure, John Mahama is also a scholar. He actively promotes the reparations agenda, which is increasingly evolving from a historical and political discourse into a concrete, practical agenda, Abramova added. Between the 15th and 19th centuries, an estimated 12.5 million Africans were forcibly taken and sold into slavery, largely through transatlantic networks dominated by European traders. The reparations debate has since gained renewed global attention, with proposals ranging from financial compensation and the return of cultural artifacts to land restitution and formal acknowledgement of historical injustices. However, the issue remains contentious, with critics arguing that present-day states and institutions should not be held accountable for actions carried out centuries ago.
Away from the international front, we go straight to the weather and bring you the weather in this update from the MBN Weather Center in association with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Now, welcome back in the weather this morning. The mostly cloudy weather is expected for most part of the northern transition sectors during the early hours of the morning, amidst misty conditions over the coast, forest, and mountainous regions. Mostly sunny conditions will prevail across the country during the afternoon hours, with the likelihood of localized thunderstorms or rain over parts of the middle transition and northern sectors from the afternoon into evening. Slightly hazy conditions will affect the extreme portions of the northern sector throughout the forecast period. Now, the temperatures for the next 24 hours: the coast a minimum of 26 degrees, a maximum of 33 degrees. Forest 24 degrees, minimum 34, maximum. Transition 24, minimum, maximum 37. Northern 26, minimum, maximum 42 degrees Celsius. And that brings us to the end of the weather and its update. But before we take leave of you, let's take a second look of the headlines.
Approval rating at 67%, economic optimism slips, global Infoanalytics. In business, Jackson signs MOUs with 8 firms to boost industrialization and exports. And on the international front, Russia offers to help Africa quantify slavery reparations claims.
And that does it for this morning's Mega News 6 live and direct from our studios here on the 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate, Nungwa, Adokano. For more news, log on to MBN 360. The news was also live on our social media handles on MBN 360 X, YouTube, Facebook. My name is El Samuels. Up next, the Sports Update.